to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. Today, we have another show lineup for you today. Today, man, we're going to talk about the topic of personal growth and development. And our special guest, she is a certified life and leadership coach. Her name is Mindy Aisling, and she is going to do the honors of exploring not just her personal story, but how she became a coach and an amazing entrepreneur that has great experience. So first and foremost, Mindy, how you doing?
I'm doing really good today. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
I appreciate you taking time. So I kind of gave a very teaser background of what you do, but to give it justice, you have over 13 years of personal development experience. You are the founder of How to Be Human, Vital Skills for an Authentic Life, and also entrepreneured a leadership and small business community for nerds around the world. I feel a lot better that I can be a nerd on this show. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so I became a life coach back in 2010 before it was a really popular profession. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. I've always been a seeker, I guess you could call me, someone who wants to be the best version of themselves and help others around them do the same. And so when I stumbled upon this profession, it was just a perfect match for who I was at my core. And as I started to do the work and see my clients get the results they were looking for in their lives, I just became more and more and more inspired to continue to do this work. And nowadays, this work looks so much different than it did when I began. It's mostly internet-based, and we have the rise of social media has really come out in the last 10 years. And so there's so many more challenges in the industry and also so many more opportunities. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of it all.
And let's talk about the challenges, because I feel like in today's world of social media, everybody's making a poster of being an entrepreneur and, making these posts and inspirations. But we all know being an entrepreneur is a bright side, but there's also a dark side. So what has been some of the challenges that you faced?
I think that the biggest challenge is to remain true to yourself, and not only remain true to yourself and the pressures of wanting to conform or, please a certain audience as you sort of navigate this world of social media, but also in really understanding how to take what is inside of you, like that unique message inside of each of us that we have, and communicate it in a way that it can be received by the world on TikTok, on Instagram, right? Understanding those platforms, understanding how people receive messages, and then making that a clear channel between the message that's in my heart and out there in the world. And I would say that is a biggest challenge. And it just takes a constant awareness and intention and reassessment. I feel like I am learning and growing every single day.
And speaking of that, you have a holistic approach when it comes to coaching. Kind of define what does that actually mean?
So I think a lot of times when people think about a life coach, they think that it's a person who is giving advice or telling you how to live your life. And it really couldn't be further from the truth, because I don't have the answers for you or anybody else. The truth is that everybody has their own answers. But unfortunately, because of the way the world is, we lose our connection to our own truth and our own wisdom. And this happens from childhood and our parents and our religion and our culture and what the kids tell us on the playground. And so there comes a certain point in everybody's life when they sort of get fed up and they throw their hands in the air and say, this can't be it. This can't be the level of fulfillment that I'm meant to have in my life. And that's when this door of opportunity opens for people to come home to who they truly are and really understand their authenticity and their needs and change the trajectory of their life.
That's a nice way to put it. Come home to who they truly are. Does that suggest that people are busy roaming around trying to knock on random doors?
I think so. I think, we all want to be loved and accepted. And so there's this thought that if we mold ourselves into what we think our parents want, our bosses want, our friends want, that we'll get more love and more connection out of that. When the truth is that the more real that we are and the more vulnerable and the more that we show ourselves to others, that's what actually builds the connection. And so not only is it recognizing that truth, but I always say there's 3 ways to know something. The first is an intellectual understanding of it. The second is sort of deepening that knowledge and having an emotional, I get it. And then the third way to know something is to actually do it, to have it be your MO in life. And so when I work with clients, that's sort of the spectrum that we're working on, is them understanding this truth, connecting to this truth, and then actually designing habits and routines and a life so that they can embody this truth that their authenticity is that thing that they're waiting for to unlock the doors to new opportunities, to happiness, to better relationships, that it's really all inside of them.
Once again, listen, I Refocus Radio, talking to our guest, Mindy Aisling. She is a certified life and leadership coach. She's a mediator, a serial entrepreneur, and she has a website you can go visit. Is MindyAisling.com. When it comes to the various types of practice of your coaching, talk a little bit about authenticity, empowerment, and how your clients take those actionable steps to kind of boost their confidence.
Yeah. So for some folks, it's just sort of general, right? I want to feel better about myself. I want to feel more comfortable in my body and in the world. A large percentage of my clients are entrepreneurs. And I think that entrepreneurs are really sort of further down that path, because they're saying, not only do I want to be myself, but I want to build a business around my needs and around my passion and my vision. And so it's sort of that next level of how do you do that in the world, and how do you make a business that's in alignment? How do you lead staff and employees that is in alignment? And I also work with a lot of folks around relationships and communication. As you mentioned, I'm a certified mediator, and I work locally here at my courthouse as a mediator in addition to coaching. And so relationships, whether it's, boss-employee relationships, partnership relationships, or intimate relationships, we all could learn more communication skills. I love communication skills because, again, it's communication. Words are the tools that we use to connect with each other. So the more we can sharpen those tools, the easier connection happens. And that's what we really want in life, is to be connected. So learning how to communicate better in our lives is the single greatest way that we can achieve that result, to being connected to other people.
And speaking of communication, which is key, how do you define emotional intelligence? And that's a word that you kind of hear flow around. But for the audience, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, great question. You're right. It has really become a buzzword. I would say that emotional intelligence really boils down to 3 things. Number 1, my energy. What is my energy communicating? Because I think that we all know, and we've all experienced somebody saying something nice with their words and something mean with their energy. And we have got to admit that energy does a lot of communicating. So the first piece of emotional intelligence is, am I in alignment with my energy? Are my words aligned with my energy so that my communication is aligned to that person? And then the next piece is just sort of tools and semantics of words, the difference between saying, I feel upset, or you made me mad, right? Tiny things like that can make a huge difference in the way that the other person receives our communication. And then that third piece is being an active listener and learning how to really listen with your curiosity on and listening to understand and deepen your knowledge and information about the other person rather than listening to prove them wrong or to respond or anything else, right? When we get deep into that curious space, our worlds open up and we are able to learn things that we didn't even know we didn't know.
And everyone, like we said, we all have our challenges, we said in the beginning, and those are the seasons of life that kind of makes us better. It makes you better or makes you bitter. When it comes to someone who's in that bitter phase, how do they, obviously, if you need to get professional help, do that. But just in general state, like me having a rough day at work or something, how do we make that switch where we can turn from bitter to better?
I think that the first step is not putting a candy coating on it. It's okay to say that things suck, right? We have this sort of culture of toxic positivity where we're sort of taught that feeling bad emotions somehow make us less than, and that the people who are always happy are somehow better than us. And it's just not true, right? The human experience is not designed to be happy all the time. The human experience is designed to be all of it, the full ride, joy, sorrow, grief, awe, frustration, excitement. We're here to feel all those things. And so I think the first part, when you're having a bad day or you're in that bitter piece, is going, oh, I'm angry, I'm bitter, I'm resentful, and kind of giving a voice to what I call my inner 2-year-old and letting that piece of me stomp her feet, be angry about it. And then after I've fully felt that emotion, taking a deep breath and going, okay, what do I want in my life next? What do I want to create? I want to feel better, right? Okay, how can I get there? All right, I know that watching The Office bloopers on YouTube make me feel better. I know going for a walk makes me feel better. I know, right, reaching for those things that can change our vibration, even the tiniest bit, so that we don't get trapped in the prison of overthinking our bitterness and our resentment. And my experience is that as soon as you sort of start moving that way, that the inertia takes over and the movement continues. It's usually that first step of going from bitterness or from frustration, resentment to actionable things that improve my vibration. That's the hardest part, that first choice.
Once again, listen, I Refocus the Radio talking to our guest, Mindy Aisling. Go to her website, is mindyaisling.com. And on the site, people can see all the different courses that you do, which is more than 3. So they got a little time to read about what you are offering. Give us a little summary of what you offer and the difference between the courses.
So I have a couple what I call DIY or do-it-yourself courses. These are my How to Be Human courses. And here's the thing, rich, poor, old, young, we're all having the same experience. We are all humans on this human journey. And as you said, I've been doing this for over a decade. I've coached thousands and thousands of people. So I feel like I can say with some authority that we're all humans having the same experience. Because when people come to me, so much of that external stuff, what they do, how much money they make, the color of their skin, all that melts away. And at the core, we are all so much the same. And so the courses I've written are addressing those kinds of things, like the stories that we tell ourselves in our mind and how those stories create our lives. Getting in touch with our needs and then knowing how to communicate our needs to other people, how to create healthy boundaries, how to source your own joy. These are sort of things that are universal to the human experience. So those are my do-it-yourself courses. And then I also have an authenticity empowerment series where folks are meeting with me online via Zoom. And that's really a course of people who want to actively live their most authentic life and want to connect with other people on that same journey. And so they can go even farther than they would have alone.
And let's explore the whole being authentic, because I think that's that's very important because one can hope and dream to be like this blank basketball player or blank golfer or baseball player. But the truth is, we can never be someone else, no matter how bad we want to be like so-and-so. I can't drop names because I don't know legally I can, drop names, but just pick your favorite player, favorite athlete, favorite artist, whatever. You can't do it. You just can't. You can't do it on their level. If they're the GOAT, they're the GOAT because that's their authentic self of their talent and their gifts. Why is it so important to distinguish that and not get caught up in the hype of, if I just believe, I can be the next amazing dunker?
I am so glad that you brought this up because this is so important. When we start out on the authentic path, one of the first stages of the journey is actually going through the grief process because the person who we thought we should be, we thought we wanted to be, has to die, right? You have to give up the sort of fantasy of the person you think you should be or want to be to understand who you really are. Because when you're able to release that notion that you have, for whatever reason you might have it might be real desire, it might be something your parents wanted, it might be because you wanted ease in life and that was your path to making money, whatever it might be. When you let go of all that, your natural self arises. And that's really where you find the joy and fulfillment and meaning in your life. So thanks so much for bringing that up, because I think that's a stage that a lot of people struggle with, is letting go of that person that they wanted to be.
If only they had a How to Be a Human for Dummies, book out there. I mean, I feel like a lot of our differences will probably melt away. We realize, hey, this person is having a rough time as well. Like, if we all have our own little unique battles. When it comes to community and connecting with people, how does that play a role in how effective coaching can be?
I think that is everything. The more that we know ourselves, the more we understand that judgment, anytime that we witness judgment in ourselves or someone else, all that is pointing to is a lack of curiosity and understanding. And that when we remove that judgment and we can open up to each other and ourselves, because we judge ourselves, there's so much more room for all the things that we want. And you can, even when you think about it, when I'm thinking about it right now, and I think of like letting go of a judgment that I had about somebody or about myself, all this space opens up, right? Judgment is so constricting. And that's one of the reasons I really love the work that I do, is I want to make the world a better place. And I believe that the most powerful way that each of us can do that is by becoming the most authentic, kind, beautiful, and true versions of ourselves.
People always have an excuse, right? I mean, I have them. We all have them. It's like a buffet line. It's the easiest thing to do. So I'm trying to get at.
Yep.
Why are excuses dangerous to hold on to versus being accountable, understanding if I ever want to go to the next level, then I have to actually show up, even if it's painful?
Yes, that is absolutely true. And I think there's a certain thoughts that we just have to learn to sort of red flag in our mind. And excuses are one of those. Excuses have a certain way that they feel inside our body, right? When they come up, you know what they are. I always ask my clients on our first session, all right, tell me what your chicken exits are. What are the things you're going to tell me when you want to get out of something? And we all know what we have, and we cannot let those things control us, because if we do, we will be on our deathbeds and we will have regret. And that's not where we want to be.
I mean, regret is a dark place. And speaking of that, you yourself, how have you been able to overcome those chapters in life where you have to face regret and be like, okay, I don't want to get on this roller coaster again?
Yeah. So you mentioned how we can each only be who we are, which is so true. And also we can each only play the hand that we were dealt. And I was dealt a particularly challenging hand in this lifetime. I've overcome poverty and domestic abuse. I was hit by a drunk driver and spent 3 months in a hospital bed. I've owned 3 small businesses. I've struggled with mental illness and with close family members, right? Things that are challenging things. And yeah, sometimes I hide under my covers for a little bit and I don't want to face it. But then there's this beautiful resilience inside of me that I can tap into that will lead me to that next step, and that next step of taking ownership of my life. And that's because we're only here once, right? This is it. This isn't a dress rehearsal. And so I really believe that giving it your all, that's the way that you end up without regrets on your deathbed. When you have the courage to show up again and again and to constantly reveal yourself to the world. I love that. That's a life well lived to me.
Once again, listen to Refocus Radio, talking to our guest, Mindy Aisling. Go to her website. It is MindyAisling.com. And this is where we have to pump the brakes. I got to rewind the tape a little bit, go back to that story when you talked about having to be in the hospital for 3 months. That's crazy. What was going through your mind when you had to live with the facts that you can't just leave the hospital? You have to stay there until you get better, because I'm sure that disrupted your whole life routine.
Yeah, talk about being in a place where there's a lot of anger and wishing things were different, and also a complete disconnect from knowing how to source my own joy or my identity. Previous to that, I had been, active in the community, very physically active, a mountain climber, and relearning how to find moments of joy from a hospital bed and moments of purpose took a lot of work and a lot of dedication. And I am so grateful to myself and to all of my family and friends that were there to help me through that.
Did you use some of those things you learned into some of the practices you use today with your business?
Absolutely. Now that I have come, full circle, that was 8 years ago, I have actually come to a place of gratitude for that experience, because it has led me to a place where I have the ability to connect with clients in a whole way that I didn't have before, because I understand dark spaces in a way that I didn't previous to that experience.
It comes full circle with the topic today of the personal growth and development journey, because everything that you're trying to do in this life is a journey. A lot of people want to be successful in 2 years. I'm like, man, you got 80 more years to live? Like, yep. Why are we, that's the question I have. Why are we in such a hurry to be successful?
I think it's because we are sort of destination obsessed as a culture. And that's one of the things that I work with my clients on, is shifting that to being, obsessed with your experience. How do I feel in this moment? How does my tea taste? How does this person across me? What is their energy? What does my sweater feel like, right? The more that you can sink into your moment every single day and just take what comes, the richer and more fulfilling life becomes. And for some strange reason, more opportunities and success seem to come from that place versus this place of chasing, doing, wanting to succeed so quickly, living in the future. When we become present, we actually harness more power. At least that's my experience so far.
Yeah. And there's a quote that comes to mind. I believe Waldo Emerson said it. He said, for every minute you're angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. And it's like, that's interesting. So it's like, we just take 1 minute, 1 second, not even a minute, but we just take 1 second to not be angry. It changed the rest of the time.
Yep, absolutely. And you reminded me, there has been scientific research done that when you feel a feeling, like when somebody says something mean to you, you feel a feeling, that feeling lasts for about 60 seconds. If you're feeling angry or whatever you're feeling after that, that's coming from the story that you're telling yourself about that experience. So just to recognize how much control you have over your life and the stories that you tell yourself in your head, you have a tremendous amount of control over your experience. And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Not to go off topic, but I like when people laugh on the show because I think laughing is important. I think we can get so serious in life that we just don't enjoy life. And you can get to the point where you just are so busy trying to be this person, trying to be that person, trying to be this success, trying to be that success. It's a rat race, and if you're not careful, you spend your whole life angry.
Yes. And I would say that our culture doesn't really put fun or silliness or goofiness on a high value. And the truth is, it is, right? When we laugh, when we're goofy, when we're silly, those are the moments that light us up.
Speaking of light us up, you can visit our guest's website, MindyAisling.com, and start your journey now and select one of her courses or send her an email or contact her to find out if you're a good fit with her and she's a good fit with you. When people look at the opportunities that they have to possibly connect with you, what's the best way that someone can prepare for this?
The best way is to go to my website. You can book a free hour call with me so that we can connect and see if we're a good fit. You can email me. All that information's on my website. So that's the best place to start.
Once again, time flies by when you're having fun. Listen to Unwavering Focus Radio, talking to Mindy Aisling. We want to say thanks again for your time.
Thank you.